Hi there. Look what I've got here. This is a sourdough loaf. It smells yummy. This is made with a sourdough starter, and if you don't have one of those or you're not sure what it is, please watch my other video where I show you how to make one. This type of bread is actually a very old type of bread. Long before there were yeast, instant yeast, there was sourdough. And it's a type of bread which has a tangy taste. You may have tasted it in restaurants. And it's a slow bread. You've heard of the slow movement perhaps? Well, this is definitely a slow bread. You can't make this in 2 or 3 hours like many of the other breads I've shown you how to make. This one takes all day. And in a lot of cookbooks it makes it sound as though you need to be at home all day on a Saturday or a Sunday to do this. But actually you can do this even if you're at work. So I've made this recipe and this video to show you how to make a sourdough on a work day, starting first thing in the morning and getting it finished at night. Tastes great. I'm going to have some. And if you watch the rest of this video, you can see how to make this all in one day. Now, to make a sourdough, you need one of these, which is a starter. It's also known as the mother. It's an active colony of yeast which you keep in your fridge. Now, if you don't have one of these, you're not going to be able to make the bread with me today. So stop, make one of these, and then come back. I'll show you the address on the screen about my video for making starters. So, assuming that you already have a starter, here's what you do next. So this morning, what I did was I woke up, came downstairs, pulled the starter out of the fridge, put a cup of flour in there, gave it a stir, and then I was ready to go. Now I'm back, and the starter is nice and bubbly, as you can see there. And now it's time to actually start making some bread. So, you take a nice big bowl, and you pour 2 cups of your starter in here. As you can see, it's nice and thick. So 2 cups of starter goes in there. Now this is pretty thick, so what I'm going to do is just add 1 cup of hot water. And then what you want to do is you want to add some flour and some salt. So 2 teaspoons of salt, 1. There's the second one. And then I'm also going to put in some sugar, so just 2 teaspoons of sugar as well. The reason I put in sugar is that sourdoughs are, as their name suggests, kind of sour. It's because of the long fermentation process that is involved in both the mother as well as how we're going to actually make this today. So the sugar takes the edge off a little bit. Okay, so with the sugar in there, now we're ready to put in the flour. So I'm going to add 2 cups of flour. So just mix that up, and it gets thicker and thicker, which is fine. This one will make a nice small loaf. If you want more, add an extra cup of water and an extra cup of white flour to it. This one will be a very nice little loaf. And what we're going to do is we're going to let it sit all day long while I'm at work. And it's going to rise. So, okay, now it's getting too thick to use with a spoon. So I'm just going to pull this off here. So I just put in a little bit more flour. Okay, and now I'm just kneading it. And you just flip it over, press it down, and just keep doing that over and over again. And add flour if necessary if you don't have enough in the bowl. You don't need to roll this out onto the counter, that's fine. As you can see, this is not a very time-consuming process. One of the beauties of making a sourdough bread is that, unlike traditional yeast, you don't have to wait around for it to activate. You just throw a little bit of flour in there into the mother first thing in the morning, and come back an hour later, and you're ready to go. So, really, in terms of the time you spend actually doing something, it's only like 5 or 6 minutes to get it going. And you just let time and nature do all the rest of the work. Okay, this one is ready to go. So, what I need to do is it's going to rise in the bowl. So I'm just going to put that down there. Scrape out the bowl. Now, normally I would just throw this flour into the compost. So I'm not going to do that today because I want this flour for the starter. I took 2 cups of starter liquid out of my mother, so I need to replenish it. And I might as well use this stuff since it's exactly the right ingredients. So I'm just going to grab a bowl. just going to, so I just take my bowl here, put this in there, and I'm going to dump that back in the starter in a few minutes. Now, just put a little bit of oil in here, just like a tablespoon or so. Give it a mix, just coat it so that when I put the dough ball back in, it's not going to stick to the sides. Stick the dough in, give it a turn. Okay. So the next step is, now that the dough is in there, I want it to just rise over the rest of the day. Time is on my side. I have to go to work anyway, so why not let the bread do this? So I'm going to take a damp towel, put it over top. Okay. Just push that to the side, and now the last step is I need to replenish mother. Mother can have some of the flour left over. I want to put in, I took 2 cups out, so I should put about a cup and a half or so in, and add a little bit of water. So I'm just going to dump that in there, and I have some flour left over anyway. So this doesn't have to be perfect, but just need it to replenish so that you have lots of mother left. So that was about a cup of flour and a cup of water. Give it a stir, and now I'm going to put mother back into the fridge. And mother, mother needs to be fed every week, whether you make bread or not, which is no big deal. So just do exactly what I just did. Just add some flour and water, or if you haven't been using it, just add a cup of flour, give it a stir, and let it go for another week. It's hard to kill these things. So I'm going to put that back in the fridge. I'm going to go to work, and when I come back, we'll take a look and see how the dough is doubled over the course of my work day, and then we'll be ready to do the final bake on the sourdough after its second rise. So you have a good work day. I'm going to go to work, and I will see you in a little bit. Okay, so I'm back. I hope you had a good work day. I did. I've been gone for around 8.5 hours or so, 8.5, 9 hours. It's 6:30 now, so I'm just going to take the top off, and voila, our sourdough has risen quite a lot. It was a warm day here, so I'm not surprised that it rose quite a bit. On a colder day, it wouldn't rise quite this much. The yeast has been eating the flour all this time, which is exactly what it should do. And if you smell it, it's got a little bit of a yeasty smell, not too bad. So now what we need to do is deflate it, let all the bubbles out. The yeast has been letting off carbon dioxide all this time, which is being stuck in the dough, which is what's puffed it up. So I'm going to punch it down, just deflate it like that. I'm just going to knead it a little bit. It's still wet on the bottom, which is good. And then I'm going to put it into a bread pan, and then I'm going to walk away again. As you can see, this is not very time consuming for the cook. I'm letting the yeast do all the work. So, okay, so now it's a nice silky texture. Sort of hangs together like that. Okay, I'm just going to get a bread pan. It's a smallish bread pan. I didn't want to make a huge one today. So just put a little bit of oil in here. It's about a tablespoon's worth. Just slide it around with my hands. And put the dough in. Now, let's put it in like that. Show you what it looks like. So just spread it around like that. It's still a good, I don't know, half an inch below the level, below the top of the dough pan, which is exactly right. And I'm just going to let it go. And what I want to see is about 2 or 3 hours from now, it should get high enough that it's going to start cresting the pan. So it'll come up like this in about 2 or 3 hours, which will give me time to have dinner and relax and so forth. Then I'm going to come back and bake it. Now, the only thing I would suggest at this point is I'm just going to make this towel damp so that once it gets nice and risen, it doesn't stick to it. And there's nothing worse than coming back to a beautifully risen loaf of bread and then taking off the towel and it rips it a little bit because it's gotten stuck, and then it deflates it, and then you have to wait 10 or 15 minutes for it to bounce back up. So let me just damp this. Okay, damp towel, and just put it on there, and walk away again, and I'm gonna make dinner. You get busy with whatever you're gonna do, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, I'm back, and it's time to check how our dough has been doing. It's been about 3.5 hours. Just gonna take that off gently, and voila! So it's risen above the pan, as predicted. So I'm just gonna give you a close-up of that. This is what we want to see over the pan very nicely, and I'm just gonna put it into the oven, and I've set it at 375 degrees because 400 is too hot. And I put some water in a pan at the bottom. So I'm gonna put this in, and I will see you in about half an hour. It's all it takes, and we're gonna have a lovely sourdough. Okay, in a minute. Okay, so it's been half an hour, and now I want to see how the sourdough is looking. So I'm just gonna take it out of the oven here. And voila! A very nice sourdough. So put it here. You can see that it's pressed at the pan nicely. Let me give you a close-up of this. Around 10 o'clock at night now. I started this at 8 in the morning, was it? Or 7 in the morning, I guess. So it does take all day, but it shows that, you know, you don't have to be someone who works at home or doesn't have a job and is at home all day to make a lovely loaf of bread. Us working people can do it too. This is going to taste totally great. I'll take it out of its pan after it's cooled down for a few minutes, because if I try to take it out now, it's just going to rip. It's a lovely loaf, and the way you can tell it's done, by the way, in case, I mean, you can see by the color it looks terrific, but the way to really tell it it's done is when you take it out, just do that. Hear that? It sounds hollow, and that means that it's definitely done. Smells great, and it's going to taste great too. So take heart. These slow breads can be done even by those of us who have jobs. So I encourage you to try this. Make sure you make a starter first, of course. But once you've got the starter, you can do this at any time, basically, right? I mean, you've got it in the fridge, just take it out, get it ready, and away you go. This is a lovely bread to serve to family and friends. At dinner parties, it makes a nice change, and you can make whole wheat versions of this as well. So please, give it a try. You're going to be joining a grand tradition of sourdough, which goes back centuries and centuries. Some people have starters which have been, that are over a century old. Some of the bakeries in France have them. They're literally centuries old. Mine is about 6 months or so, and it's made this lovely loaf of bread, and I intend to keep doing it. So please give it a try.